I was made by H.J. Justin out along the Chisholm Trail. He stitched my seams and did it all by hand. He made me for a cowboy heading north to Abilene, and still today, I'm proud to say, I wear the Justin brand. We crossed the Red and Cimarron when they were deep and wide. The rivers changed my color, but they didn't hurt my hide. The cat claw and the chaparral dug scratches in my skin, but a little bit of polish and I looked like new again. I've danced 100 waltzes, scooting across a hardwood floor, worked rodeos from Fort Worth to Cheyenne. I helped him rope 1,000 calves from Salinas to the Pecos. When he bucked off in Denver, I got stepped on again. We trailed 6 million longhorns all the way to Abilene, rode through strange new country, crossed some rivers we ain't seen. Yeah, I've been roughed up aplenty, but I want you to understand that I ain't scared of nothing, 'cause I wear the Justin brand.
All right, here we go. Well, good afternoon, Texas FFA members and teachers. Welcome to another segment of the Growing Our Future Leadership Series. As you know, we have put together an array of topics with subject matter experts from around the world. Today's topic, though, is one that we're going to focus on right here in the Lone Star State, and that revolves around our natural resources. So today we're going to talk about wildlife, water, and conservation. And we have put together an expert panel on that very topic of wildlife, water, and conservation. I'm a big fan of all of these gentlemen that have joined us. I'm going to let each one introduce themselves individually. Start by introducing Rex Isom. Rex is the Executive Director of the Texas Soil and Water Conservation Board. He'll tell you a little bit about that. But I also want to say thank you to Rex. Rex is he's a generous sponsor of the Texas FFA, he and his wife Nancy, and he's also a board member for the Texas FFA Foundation. So in the world of development, we always say that philanthropy is the sharing of time, talents, or treasure. And so our first guest that's joining us is a great example of all three. So Rex, I'll let you take it from there. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do at the Soil and Water Conservation Board.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. And I consider it an honor and a privilege to be asked to visit with this group. And I understand that the audience that's out there, primarily ag teachers, which I think the world of, and then those students that are participating in agricultural education. In the old days, I don't know if it's still politically correct or not, but I refer to it as the FFA. Hopefully that's still appropriate. I do serve as Executive Director of the Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board. We have Soil and Water Conservation District boards in every county of the state. Their goal and our effort is the wise use of our natural resources, and primarily in this conversation, we're all about the conservation of soil and water, conserving our natural resources, which, as everyone knows, are growing very precious, and we may touch on this, but with urban sprawl, our natural resources are being greatly diminished, and the pressure upon the productivity of these natural resources is ever growing. I could go on and on about this program and the people that are involved in it. It's agriculturalists all over the state. There is becoming a lot of gray hair with this group, and but along with that comes a lot of wisdom, and so it's a very unique group of people statewide, all involved in agriculture. And I think when you see these people, if we can encourage our youth to move in that direction, wherever it is involved with our natural resources, and follow the leadership of the gray-haired women and men, and their wisdom, things will be in good shape as we move into the future.
That's excellent. One thing that I'd like to throw in here, Rex, and I think you're a great example of this, and I'm going to tee up the introduction of Daniel Nix. But the whole part of these leadership series, those that know me know I have a very simple philosophy. It is, if you want to be the best, you train with the best. So if you want to be the best, go find the best that are out there and then train with those people, listen to those people, engage with those people, and learn from those people. And Rex, I think you are one of those in the state of Texas. So the fact that you're honoring us by sharing with us, I think is a real asset to the students and the teachers of Texas. The next one that we have here is Daniel Nix. Now I'm going to share a little personal one on this one, and I know, Rex, you can relate to this because you've got ties in North Texas as well. But when the state of Texas was going through a terrible drought, the city of Wichita Falls got down to combined lake levels, and I know he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say they were 19% or less. The entire world, the whole world was watching Wichita Falls, Texas, because we were on the verge of a very critical moment. At that point, you had to have innovative minds and leadership that stepped up and say, how do we fix this? How do we solve this? How do we get through this? And the guy that led that charge is Daniel Nix. And I'm just saying, as both a constituent of the city and somebody that's known Daniel since high school, I can tell you it's an honor to know that he led that. Daniel's a former FFA member, and he understands our program. But with that, Daniel, tell us a little bit about what it's like having dealing with water on the urban and suburban side of the equation.
Sure. Aaron, thank you for inviting me to this inspired format of getting leadership information out to the Texas FFA. I think this is a brilliant way of doing this, especially given the new environment that we all exist in now. As you said, I am primarily on the urban side. I come from an agricultural background, but I've spent 34 years in the urban environment with water resources and water management. We did get fairly creative during the drought, and as we like to say in the water industry, we're the only industry that produces a product and then encourages our consumer not to use it. You just don't see that anywhere else. So there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to be understood on both the part of the urban users understanding agricultural use and the agricultural users understanding how urban uses water. And that's one of my goals working through the Texas section of the American Water Works Association in creating these leadership roles and cooperative programs where we can learn from each other, because let's face it, urban and agriculture are the two major users of water in Texas, and we're going to have to work together in the future to make our water resources more beneficial to us all.
Very good. Well, we're going to come back to that a little bit, Daniel, here in just a second, and maybe you can speak to maybe some opportunities that might exist for young people to get more engaged in their local municipality as it relates to water. I know Rex will cover it from the rural side, but I think there's also an urban opportunity. Our next guest is Tom Johnson, and I've gotten to know Tom through his work with Ducks Unlimited. He was the educational coordinator or chairman of the education committee of Ducks Unlimited when we met. And I quickly, we quickly clicked. And the reason that we did is we both like to get things done. And so because we like to get things done, there's been a lot that's happened in a very short period of time. I know that ICEV has just unveiled the wildlife curriculum, where you can receive a certification in wildlife management. And that's all because of Ducks Unlimited being the expert third party that has validated that curriculum. So Tom, we appreciate you. I appreciate you always. Also, Tom Johnson hosts the Teachers from the Lead experience on his ranch in South Texas. And one of the things that I've never forgot when he talks to the teachers, he always asks them to name their favorite teachers. And after they do, he always says, now name your least favorite teachers. He said, you always remember those too. And he always challenges our teachers, don't be that teacher. So with that, Tom, thank you for joining us from Ducks Unlimited, and tell us a little bit about your role, what you do, and why conservation is important in the world of wildlife.
Well, thanks, Aaron, for having me. It's always a pleasure to be a part of anything that has to do with the FFA, whether it's Texas or United States, the teachers and their members. So it's a real honor to be here today to speak to your members about this. A little bit about myself is I now sit on the National Youth and Education Committee for Ducks Unlimited, and I've been tapped by our national president to push our certification onto the national forefront. So that's going to be a big challenge, and hopefully I'll get a lot of help from the teachers, and the students will be excited to take this course. A little bit about my background. I am a rancher. I have 3 ranches, 500 head of mama cows. With that, you have a responsibility as good stewards of the land to manage the wildlife, your wetlands, and so forth, because we share our world with those creatures too, and it is our responsibility to see that they have a home and good habitat to live on. As far as Ducks Unlimited, we are the world's #1 wetlands conservation group. We have projects from Canada, America, down into Mexico. And those projects are critical to our water sources, in effect that those wetlands that we protect and restore, they help with flooding from our cities. They catch a lot of our runoff and hold it in there and filter it out. They recharge our groundwater for our aquifers that so many farmers and ranchers rely upon, and our food source relies upon. They help with, you can't name anything, not one creature in the world that can survive without water. Water is our world. Without it, we would have nothing. So if we don't start protecting our water and our water sources and saving our water, then it's going to be a very bleak future for the whole world, not just the United States. And the farmers and ranchers, just like they were saying, they play a huge part in protecting those sources. So we hope through our certification, we kind of give them an idea of why we need to protect our wetlands and restore our wetlands, and just how important our wildlife is as a natural resource. That's a resource that everyone in Texas, the United States, owns. When it's natural resources, we all own that. So we all have a responsibility to protect that. And so our work through restoring the wetlands, like I said, the wetlands are the beginning of every creature out there. Without water, there's nothing.
Well, I can tell you just from some of my travels throughout the United States, I was at a meeting in Florida, and there was some folks from out of state that were here, and they didn't realize much about the feral hog problem that we have in Texas. And I just shared with them just kind of what a group of feral hogs can do to stock tanks, and then the effect of that devastation of that stock tank on the farmer or rancher's livestock, maybe even their crops, but even that effect on just the ecosystem. And so, Tom, you're absolutely right. We're all connected, and water is one of those things that connect us all. So thank you for sharing that. Let's jump back around, Rex. We're coming back around. Let's talk about the state of Texas. We like to talk about how we're growing. When we think of FFA and ag science, I always get a kick out of it. Everybody thinks, well, FFA and ag science, that's a rural program. That is not true. As a matter of fact, all you got to do is look at Harris County. One county in the state of Texas probably has as many members, chapters, and teachers as 25% of the United States combined. So that's a very urban area. But that area, San Antonio, Dallas-Fort Worth, all of them are beginning to expand. That term, I believe, is called urban sprawl. Rex, what is the effect of a growing population and how do we need to pay attention to that, and how can we engage to ensure that we're doing our part to protect our water resources?
Well, the question, Aaron, about urban sprawl obviously is a very complex issue, actually. And Tom, he's right on target, obviously. He knows what he's doing. He's also a producer himself, but water is the key. Water is our basic natural resource that we've got to have. And so as the population continues to grow, we have less impervious soils, which is causing more runoff of any water that we do get and do have. And we've got to be creative and know how and collect those runoffs. We've got to save every drop of water that we can. But with the urban sprawl, again, I'll go back to say that our pressure upon all of our natural resources is ever increasing. Our productivity has got to increase, and I'm just going to stay in Texas. And I know it's, we operate worldwide, and I get that, but if you were operating within the confines of Texas, the acres that we continue to have in production have got to become more productive. If those that live in Texas want to eat, and if they want to wear some form of clothing. So that's being real simplistic, but every acre that we maintain in agricultural production has got to become more productive. It's hard to be productive in agriculture without water. So we've got to become even more efficient in the ways that we use our water and protecting, our natural resources for our wildlife, the ecosystem in total. I'll give you one example, and this is in a little different arena, but it's all about water. With the growth of Texas, back in 39, 40, in those years, there were over 2,000 dams built in the state of Texas, and this has been a growing issue for our state. Over time, of those 241 dams that were built kind of for stock ponds and et cetera back in the day, developments have been built below these structures all over the state due to our increasing population daily, actually. We've got over 500, nearly 550 now dams that were low hazard that are now high hazard. High hazard means there's a potential loss of life now below these dams. There are many developments that have been built below these dams. Those dams are depending upon the development. The people that live in the developments are depending upon those dams to perform. That's for basic safety. But my point in this, and just to tell you the pressure that comes with the increased population, the state now faces over a $2 billion backlog in addressing and looking at the dams and having to upgrade these dams. That's just one area alone that an increase in our population, an increase in the runoff, a decrease in impervious soils leads to a lot of ancillary issues that have to be dealt with through conservation and being smart and wise and looking into the future. So it's a real quick question to ask. It's a very complex answer or issue to address.
Rex, before we leave that, if a student or a teacher wanted more information about that topic or their area, where would they go to get that?
They can contact the Texas State Soil and Water Conservation Board. Steve Bednar leads up the effort for us. He's the head engineer. They can contact me. We'll get any and all the information they want on that issue. It's a major issue for the state of Texas. Just briefly, we went from years ago, it was difficult to have the discussion in Austin, to this go-round, they put $150 million toward the issue. So it's a huge issue, and it's only growing year by year. But that goes back to increased population, more urban sprawl, more runoff, less impervious soils, and the issues that come with that.
Awesome. Daniel, you're on mute. Unmute there whenever you get ready to speak. Daniel, take us. I mean, Rex just did a great job of kind of giving us not only a rural look, but maybe an urban and suburban look. From your perspective, as it relates to urban and suburban issues, what is the population doing to water resources, and what opportunities may students have there?
Sure. And Rex did a great job of summarizing the issue, and that is that we have an ever-increasing population in the state of Texas, and by the year 2050, it's going to be much larger than what we see today. But if you look at the numbers, the historical numbers in Texas, we peaked both in agriculture water use and urban water use in the 1980s, and ever since that time, water conservation and water use has been declining throughout the state to the point that our urban use has gone from around 200 gallons per capita per day to an average of about 139 gallons per capita per day. And a lot of that is by changing habits. It's by changing the types of equipment that we use, when we use it. And so we can expect further advances as we go further. And we're going to have that because you're not going to get many more water resources here in the state of Texas. As Rex had mentioned, we've got so many dams in the state of Texas, and right now there's approximately 188 of them that are impounding 5,000 acre feet or more of water. Those are classified as major reservoirs. And if you look at how many major reservoir sites are left to build in Texas, it's less than 14. So we're not going to be building many more reservoirs, and there's not going to be the development of new aquifers. We have to manage what we've got. And so you have to really start at the local level for that. And you have to look at how am I using the water, and how am I adversely impacting the quality of that water. As an urban guy, you know, we talk about litter and over applying of fertilizers on urban lawns. Well, the same thing applies in agriculture. The over application of fertilizers and the runoff into these reservoirs create problems not only for wildlife, but for urban use. And one of the biggest things in my industry right now is harmful algal blooms that render the water unusable by municipal settings. And so those harmful algal blooms are spurred along by fertilizer runoff, both from municipal sources and agriculture. And so you need to start looking at what are your particular issues in your local area. And I think that the FFA and even in local environmental groups are perfectly positioned to make a major change in how local regions, local environments impact those water resources.
That's good. Hey, by the way, Rex, Tom, don't hesitate to jump in there at any moment that you have a comment. Tom, obviously, I would assume that the same topic of urban sprawl as it relates to agricultural resources and city resources also have got to affect the world that y'all see in conservation. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, you bet. You brought up Harris County and Houston. Prime example right there. If you've been out Interstate 10 towards Katy in the last, say, 20 years, used to, from the Grand Parkway west was nothing but rice fields. As far as you can see, rice fields is, I mean, for miles and miles and miles. Now what do you see? Urban sprawl, big box stores, Bass Pro Shops, hotels, shopping malls, all took up this prime ground, prime farm ground out there. Well, used to, That area was known as the snow goose capital of the world. Most all of the snow geese through the Central Flyway, they used to come to that area of the state, and that's where they wintered, was right there around Katy, Eagle Lake, Brookshire, all through that area. Well, now, since we've lost so much rice production due to urban sprawl, those snow geese now do not come to that area in the numbers that they used to come in because of a food source. There's no wintering grounds for them there. They don't need asphalt and concrete, so they go to where there's food at. And so luckily, those animals that do migrate do get to move. They can stay in, say, Arkansas, where they used to grow 300,000 acres of rice. Now they're up to 3 million acres of rice up there. So a lot of the birds have stopped up there. But you think about the other wildlife that is affected that doesn't migrate, where do they go? We all know there's only X amount of acres of farmland in the United States, and it's not huge. You get out west where there's lots of mountains and deserts, and there's not lots of area that can be farmed. So we only have a small amount of area that is farmable. And when we lose that farm ground to urban sprawl, that is a huge effect on our future, because if we're looking at 100 years down the road, Houston's going to keep growing. The demand for food is going to keep growing. The demand on our water is going to keep growing. And so we better have good plans in place. And that's where conservation groups come into play. I can tell you on Ducks Unlimited, I would say 80% of our members are not hunters, although the hunters are the ones that brought us because back in the Dust Bowl, back in the 1930s, they were wondering what was happening to the ducks. Where did they go in the winter? We didn't have that science or anything. So it was a group of hunters that came together and actually started Ducks Unlimited because they wanted to conserve that species. So through their work, they found out just how important these wetlands are. It wasn't just about the ducks. It was about how they helped, how much carbon was stored in these wetlands, these natural wetlands. He's talking about the algae blooms and stuff. Well, these rivers and creeks that have wetlands on them, those wetlands are a huge sponge, a filter that cleans that water before it goes into those creeks and into our rivers, into our oceans. Well, when we cut the swamps out, we drain them, and the water just goes straight through, well, then you don't have the cleaning effect that the good Lord put out there. So that is one area that man has messed with that they shouldn't have. And since we've seen the error of our ways, those are being corrected. I can tell you, for example, Richland Chamber Lakes up north of Lake Livingston. Everybody in Southeast Texas knows that Lake Livingston's water is the city of Houston's. So the river starts up in Fort Worth, Trinity River does, and it flows down through and comes through Dallas and on down. Well, Richland Chambers sits right there between Dallas, Fort Worth, and Lake Livingston, which is Houston's water supply. So they built that to help catch that water and hopefully slow it down and clean it up. And Ducks Unlimited, we've done numerous projects on that lake of shallow wetlands that are full of water plants, bog plants, that will help filter that water before it comes on down the Trinity River. Because you can imagine a metroplex like Fort Worth and Dallas that just when a rain comes, what flows into the ditches and what flows off of the roads, the oil, the gas, everything that, the spills of all sorts, it goes straight into the river and comes straight down. So the lake, Richland Chambers Lakes, is there for a reason. And it serves as a huge wetlands. If you've been up Interstate 45 right there at Rice, you'll see it right there, how it's spread all over the pastures and stuff out there. And it's for a reason. So if we, everyone that lives on this earth that takes up space has taken up space from wildlife, other creatures. So it's our responsibility as good citizens, as good stewards, as good wildlife environmentalists to step up and give back to a conservation group. Now, it does not have to be Ducks Unlimited, although I prefer it be Ducks Unlimited. Pick a conservation group. Pick one that does good work. Give them their $35 a year and help them just take it as a your homeowners association dues. You're paying back for the area that your home is taking up. So, I would encourage everybody to do that. I don't care if you're a hunter or fisherman or not. You should still be a part of a conservation group.
Well, that's excellent, and I couldn't agree with you more. Let's conclude here with one more round robin, and we'll start with Rex. Rex, what would be some advice, counsel, guidance, mentorship? What would you share with FFA members and ag teachers? The future's right around the corner. So what can we share with them about our water resources and how they can become more involved? And by the way, y'all do have a soil stewardship scholarship competition, and we appreciate you for that, as well as some scholarships available through Ducks Unlimited. But Rex, tell us about what advice you'd give those kids.
Well, I would say as far as the future in conservation, the arena is going to continue to grow, in my opinion. Expertise is going to continue to be needed, even in a bigger way as we move forward. Tom and Daniel both mentioned the pressures that are coming upon society as a whole, and there will be a greater demand for those with expertise in conservation in the broad arena. And I would encourage those students that kind of feel the desire to get involved in conservation to reach out locally. I know the municipalities are all around us. The Ducks Unlimited is all around. Soil and water conservation districts are in every county. The Natural Resource Conservation Service, there are Connect on the federal level. Reach out, go visit with them. To the ag teachers, have those professionals come in and talk to the students. Local, state, federal, they're going to need the expertise, and the arena will be wide open. There's also going to be a need for private industry that will need consultants as we move forward in the conservation arena. My parting, I guess, advice, if there is any, you do learn with time, and I was active in the FFA growing up, and then Aaron. Aaron knows I always get a little bit emotional, but our family's been real involved. My kids were all involved. But as I look back and look at people that come and go in the work world, to the students, develop a work ethic. To the teachers, teach a work ethic. Be an example of work ethic. And then along with that comes accountability, responsibility, respect for others. You can go on down the line. I don't want to dwell on that, but I tell you, FFA is one of the few areas left that those qualities can be learned and can be taught. And I look back on my days and my children's days and the ag teachers that really cared. They really came out. They really helped with projects. Not so much that you're going to go in and ring the bell and win the big prize. They were helping carry out responsibilities and accountabilities, and they were there. And the students see that. To the teachers, students see you by your actions, not by your words. And so be an example, and for the students, glean all the wisdom you can from your ag teachers and learn. And again, I'm going to end by saying the work ethic is becoming a lost art. Learn it, pick it up, And then bottom line with FFA, if you look at your motto and if you look at the code of ethics, it's all there. And not to go political, but it would be really good for our country to get a dose of the code of ethics for the FFA and live by that, and we'd all be better off. That's all there, and I'll stop. I could go on all day.
That's great stuff. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that this whole series, Rex, and I appreciate you also as a board member, this whole series is about trying to give our kids a competitive edge. At the end of the day, they're going to have to compete against their peers across the state and across the country. The fact that y'all are willing to share today helps give them a competitive edge, where if they'll listen, take notes, they might just be better off down the road. So thank you. Daniel, give us some words of wisdom from the seat that you sit in.
Aaron, thanks. Obviously, the audience of FFA students that are watching this, they're the new stewards, the next stewards coming up on the water resources, the soil conservation, the water conservation. They're the ones that are going to have to be doing it right. Rex and Tom and Aaron and I, we've done our part, starting 70s, 80s, moving forward. And you guys have got to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to ask that tough question. Don't be afraid to ask that crazy question, because it's that thinking outside the box that's going to advance the knowledge and the application to help conserve and improve the quality of this water resource that is so precious to agriculture. You're gonna get laughed at with those crazy questions. You're gonna get told, no, it couldn't work. Don't get discouraged. Do your research, apply it, put all the puzzle pieces together, and you will succeed. So don't be afraid to get outside that box and try something new.
Very good. Tom, just unmute and give us your perspective from Ducks Unlimited and from the seat that you sit in. I guess all of us are former FFA members, so I forgot to mention that Tom's a former member as well.
I am. I'm a district officer, our chapter president, so that's the reason why I tried to connect Ducks Unlimited with the FFA. What better two groups to work together than those two? But Daniel was talking about ask the question. There's an old Chinese proverb that says that he who asks question, fool for a short time. He who doesn't is a fool for life. So I'm with Daniel. I ask the question. There's never a bad question. But I will tell you this. I contend that one day in the very near future, that our farmers and ranchers and the people in charge of agriculture in the United States will be the ones sitting at the head of the political tables like the oil companies do today. For the fact that when a man's belly starts burning, he will come to the table and talk to you. So I don't really think that farmers and ranchers and people in agriculture are really wielding the power that we really have. I think if our young people would step up and become more involved in our political arena, that it would help us in the future, not only with our water and our conservation, but everything that had to do with agriculture. I mean, they hold the power in their hands, and the FFA and even the 4-H too. They instill good leadership skills, knowledge that you will use as adults, not just right there in school. Let me tell you right now, parliamentary procedure, if you sat on a board or anything like that, it carries through, and knowledge is power when it comes to these meetings. If you know how to work that parliamentary procedure, you can pretty much rule a meeting and get done what you want done. So the things that y'all are learning in FFA, these are true real world skills that will work when you're out of school until the day you die. They will assist you. So anytime your teacher is there in front of that class and trying to teach you something, I would definitely encourage that you take the extra step besides just listening, is step up and learn more about what they're trying to teach you, because it's not just about farmers and ranchers. Agriculture is the #1 employer in the whole United States, and it's not just farming and ranching. If you think about the science that goes in behind, say, the weed killers or the new improved seeds that are developed and stuff, well, that's not done on the farms. That's done in laboratories by scientists that are just as important to agriculture as the guy out there plowing the field. So don't think that it's just a farmer and a rancher that makes agriculture work. There's a whole host of folks that make agriculture work. But I encourage you, what the FFA has to offer, take 100% advantage of it in the 4 years that you have in high school, because those 4 years, that investment you make in those 4 years can affect you and others for the rest of your life.
Wow. Well, I'm not going to say any more because that just said it all right there. That was outstanding. I know that Rex, I know you and Tom are both very familiar with our LEAD program, and the notebook, when the teachers get on the bus each year, they get a notebook, and the very first thing in that notebook, it just simply has the word question. And I always ask the teacher, what is the root word of the word question? And the root word is quest, to go on an adventure. So we want the kids to go on an adventure. We want them asking questions. And I hope, because of the information y'all shared today, I hope that maybe a teacher or a student will reach out to their soil and water conservation, their local municipality, or even Ducks Unlimited or another conservation group, and seek an opportunity to be more involved. They might find a scholarship there, they might find a mentor there, but there's no question they'll be better because y'all helped spur that on today. So I just want to say to each of you, thank you. We appreciate you sharing some of your time and wisdom with the members of the Texas FFA.
Hi, I'm Courtney Dyer, Director of Marketing for Preferred. We know this year has been full of unforeseen challenges, but we also know that members of the agriculture industry understand better than most how to adapt to rapidly changing environments and how to overcome our circumstances. That is why we're so proud to be a sponsor of the Texas FFA. While this year's convention might look a little different, we know that the purpose and passion behind it remain the same. It's our hope that as we work together to find our new normal, that the members of the FFA will lead the way in making that new normal better than anything we've had before. Thank you for your leadership, for your desire to learn, and most importantly, thanks for all you're already contributing to the future of our industry.
Hey, Texas FFA members, be sure to tune in for the 92nd Annual Texas FFA Convention. Strive for greatness. Strive to be great. We know you are. Hey, while you're at convention, be sure to check out the Foundation's virtual scavenger hunt. We're going to be giving away a $1,000 award scholarship every day from the students who get all of the scavenger hunt questions correct. So be sure to take a chance. Go to mytexasffa.org. Good luck.